Stay warm.
Nice.
I was nervous, or I was happy when the storm was a bust for you, Ben.
Oh, yeah.
You could get out.
That's right. Yeah, the day before, thankfully.
Okay, we have 7 o'clock, so we'll get started. We'll open up with approval of the minutes of 2:15. Are there any edits or comments?
No.
So I found one. It had to do with we had discussion around the drainage off of the St. Mark's addition work and the manhole covers.
Mhm.
There's a statement there. It says size of the size.
I think I caught that after I sent it to you, but yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And it should be, size of the storm.
Yep.
Something like that. So did you revise that, Melissa?
If I haven't, we will before we submit it.
Okay. So with that modification, that was the only thing that I saw that it seemed out of sorts for me. So with that, do I hear a motion to accept the revised minutes of February 15th, 2024?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all approved? All in favor? All approved.
Nick,
Yes.
Barrington,
Yes.
Upton,
Yes.
Smith.
You're on mute.
Oh, he's probably
All right, abstain.
Pasamato.
Approved. Okay, next up is a request for determination of applicability, 35 Clifford Street, map 35, lot 50, construction of addition and extend the existing deck in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Southborough Wetlands Bylaw. The Southborough Conservation Commission will conduct a public hearing on Thursday, March 7th, 2024, 7 p.m. via virtual Zoom meeting. The commission will consider a request for determination of applicability for a project located at 35 Clifford Street, map 35, lot 50, for the applicant and owner, Pratik Gaswani. The project description is construction of an addition to the house and extend the existing deck.
So the homeowners are here if you guys have any questions. But ultimately I did this review and site visit for this application. This has come through kind of initially for some background. They did a small addition that is just outside the 100-foot. And they decided to also do the deck that is shown on the site plan that would bring it to about 91 feet from the edge of the wetland. So in the very, very outer edge of the buffer zone. It is within existing lawn area. The work for the addition has caused no impacts in the buffer zone. They've done exactly what they've said to do. I don't see any issues besides our standard condition of erosion controls during construction, which they did for the addition as well per my request. So that's kind of the background I had. Uploaded some pictures for you guys just so you can kind of see the backyard. The kind of backyard of this is kind of the downslope of some properties on Route 9. So it does have some bittersweet and invasives back there, etc. But for the purpose of the construction of a deck is very minor in the circumstance.
Any comments or questions from the commission?
Not really. I'd like to thank Melissa for.
Oh, I think you muted yourself.
Sorry, I'm in my car. I had to travel for something urgent, but I apologize. But yes, no questions from our end. But we appreciate the help along the way.
Okay. So Melissa, we recommending here a negative determination of applicability.
Correct. Yep. With erosion controls.
Of
Just
course,
a straw
yes.
bottle.
Okay, do I hear? Mr. Smith, do you have a question? You're muted. No, okay. Do I hear a motion to issue a negative determination of applicability with proper erosion controls put in place.
So moved.
Just a second.
second,
All in favor?
Zulik,
Yes.
Barrington,
Yes.
Upton,
yes,
Smith,
Yes.
Osmanno.
Yes.
All right, guys, I will get this emailed to you over first thing tomorrow morning, just so the homeowners are aware.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is 7:10. We're not there yet. So we have 5 more minutes to wait. So let's do the request for certificate of compliance for 163 Parkerville Road, stormwater permit FY 22-3 and S&P FY 16-3.
Yes, so this was for the construction of a new single-family house. This had an RDA, so not an order of conditions. So these SMP, these COCs are solely for the SMPs. The FY 16 one was for the original permit that had expired, so they had to resubmit for the FY 22. So it's the same permit, same plan. It's just closing them both out since now the construction is complete. This lot, did have some water concerns during construction and a little bit afterwards. I've been out during the rainstorm since and haven't seen kind of direct evidence that there is kind of the stream of water that was coming off before. So previously, you might remember that we had one of the abutters, if you're looking to the home to the left, was getting some water from the driveway. They've installed their filter strips. I took a walk with the new homeowners and showed them all their inspection ports for their stormwater systems and how they maintain them. And there's no erosion. That was kind of the main concern because this site is so steep and very sloped. So it has kind of a tiered approach. So the septic is very high up in the back, and then they have kind of I'll say a boulder retaining wall, but part of it is actually the ledge that is on site that is having that first tier, and then the house is kind of on the second tier. So work was in, general conformance. They have all their infiltration units and the downspouts -1, which was what was shown on the plan, are connected to those Coltex. I did recommend to the homeowners that one that isn't connected is kind of just discharging straight onto the pavement. So just kind of for safety, especially during winter, I recommended just extending it out into the yard. So just some minor things that are not in compliance, but just kind of suggestions for follow-up for the homeowners moving forward. But they understand their ongoing O&M as well.
All right, any questions or comments? Concerns? No, okay. So do I hear a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 163 Parkerville Road for S&P stormwater management permit?
And are we doing the motion for 2 and 1?
Yes,
Just making sure.
thank you.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Zulik,
Yes.
Barrington,
Yes.
Upton,
yes,
Smith,
Yes.
Osmanno.
Yes.
Okay. I'll just give it a,
We have to give it a
Second.
minute because I don't think we can do anything else in a minute.
yeah. I'll at least,
We're not that good.
yeah, I'll at least load Goddard in so that I can be ready.
Is this for 20 Sears Road?
Correct.
Okay. So next up is 710, notice of intent, 20 Sears Road, map 64, lot 2. I'll read the narrative at 710.
Since we have a minute, just a reminder that town meeting is on March 23rd at 10 a.m. The warrant has been finalized. I sent that around today just for everyone's edification as a heads up if you want to attend.
Great, thank you. Okay, we're at 710. Notice of intent, 20 Sears Road, in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the South Row Wetlands Bylaw. The South Row Conservation Commission will conduct a continued public hearing on Thursday, March 7, 2023, at 7:10 p.m. via virtual Zoom meeting. The commission will consider notice of intent for a project located at 20 Sears Road, map 64, lot 2. The applicant, William DePietri. Project description is to daylight a stream channel by removing a pipe and creating a channel within the upland buffer zone.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Hayes with Goddard Consulting here for the applicant. I also believe Brian from Greer and Halnon might be in the waiting room. He is also here. He's the engineer and can answer design or stormwater questions if need be. Okay, so we've been through peer review a couple of times with this notice of intent. The latest peer review letter we got was March 5th. I did have time to review it, and I actually had a response that I did send out today. There's only 3 remaining issues, and that the peer review was asking for. One of them is he would like to see either shrubs be planted along the intermittent stream bank to give it a more of a natural stream type feature, and the applicant is willing to do that. I was thinking maybe planting 4 high bush blueberry shrubs and 4 winterberry along the banks of the intermittent stream channel. Let me see. There was a comment on the construction sequence. I guess in the notes of on the plan, we put in that the area was going to be graded before the check dams were put in, which is not correct. That will be adjusted on the plan set that we will submit again. There was also a question on why we didn't connect the swale on lot 20 to the culvert on lot 34. The answer to that is DePietri is in the process of selling this parcel of 20 Sears Road, and he wanted to keep the notice of intents separate, due to legal reasons. So that's why that is now daylighting at the property line, because there's going to be 2 different owners shortly. There was also another question about if we need a 401 water quality permit. That is a DEP permit, and we are not proposing any fill to be into the wetland, and the check dams and the erosion controls of the intermittent stream will protect the down gradient wetland on that account. And if DEP asks us to file a water quality certificate permit, we would definitely do that. Those are all the comments that I have to respond to peer review about. If you have any questions about design, I asked the engineer, Brian from Greer and Halnon, to be here tonight, so you could ask him. So we can take questions if there is any.
Ben, I'm having a coughing fit, so why don't you take over?
Certainly. Any comments, questions, concerns from the commission? Okay. Let's see. Do we have anything new from Lucas? Joe, you've had a chance to look over the responses to the peer review. How are we doing with that?
As far as my review memo dated March 5th, I think most of the previous comments had been addressed. As Nicole had mentioned, there were a few outstanding items which I think have also been addressed partly tonight. I haven't had a chance to look over too much of the response from today, but it's pretty straightforward and short, so I'll just comment on a few of those things. We did note, as Nicole had mentioned, that we recommend that the entire culvert be daylighted and the entire stream length be restored. I don't know if it is being proposed that the rest of that will be done under a separate notice of intent. I know the order of conditions that was, or the that was the order that was issued for the under the ORAD did specify that the entire stream length be restored. With respect to the sequencing on with the check dams, what I had noted was that the check dams were noted as being installed within the graded channel before the channel was being graded. So I think you have to do some grading the channel before you can actually put the check dams in. There was just a sequencing item for that. And with regard to the 401 water quality certification, as you're aware, the stream is tributary to the Sudbury Reservoir and is an outstanding resource water. So any fill that occurred within the existing stream would be within an ORW and would likely require a 401 water quality certification. However, no fill is actually being proposed in the stream. I just thought that the applicant might include some additional information on how stream will be protected when they're doing work right at the existing end of the culvert to prevent any fill from getting into the existing stream. And I think that pretty much summarizes my comments.
Thank you, Joe. Okay. Anything from the commission on Joe's comments? Nicole, could you refresh us on what we're doing specifically Joe's last comment regarding protection of the wetland at the end of the channel restoration?
Which side are you speaking about? Are you speaking about the side that's opening towards the wetland, or
Yes.
yes? All
Yeah.
right. So we will protect the wetland itself from soil getting into it from the check dams, and there's an erosion control line that goes right across that separates the BVW from the stream channel, and that erosion control will help in that aspect too.
Oh, okay. And the erosion control barrier is going to be downstream of all the excavation work needed to remove the pipe and reestablish the channel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
So I just want to make sure I understand that we are not removing the pipe that was put there,
No, we are removing the pipe
completely removing it.
on lot 20 Sears Road, yes.
But that's just partial, the rest of the pipe that crosses over to the neighboring parcels not being removed.
Not at the moment. I guess you could make the owner of 34 Sears Road do that as part of the project, but they just wanted to separate the notice of intents from, the two different parcels, because there's gonna be a new owner of parcel 20.
Is that the standard, Melissa, is that the standard process we follow for something? I just want to make sure I kind of understand.
So I think it's up to the commission on how you would want to take this. Your condition of the ORAD did include for the restoration of the stream with the removal of the pipe. The plan in front of you does not do that, in my opinion. So I think it's, in my view, if they fail to meet the conditions of the ORAD, you could issue enforcement. But if you were to approve this plan, you know, you're also putting a head wall, you know, on a pipe that would then remain, because now it's on the property of 20 Sears, and if they do the work on 34 next door, then this is getting a little confusing in my mind. You can have the order recorded on both properties. It doesn't matter who the current owner is. If it gets sold, that's very common. It's like a construction of a new single-family home. It goes with the property. I would assume that whoever is purchasing it would understand, and I think they know that they want to build a house on this, so there would be another notice of intent and order of conditions. So I think that has been known by the buyer. I think it's kind of in the commission's hands of how you want to move forward. I think I have concerns personally looking at this and seeing that only a portion is removed. You're putting in a head wall and you're not completing the requirements that the commission put forward.
Melissa, would it be possible to pull the plan up real quickly?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay.
So here's this property line. And here's the remaining pipe.
Okay.
So I do understand 100% your concerns, and I had the same questions as you did. But the current owner of 20 Sears Road is adamant that we separate the two pieces of work. He's aware that you may come and ask him to do a separate notice of intent for the 34 Sears Road.
Is it the same owner?
At the present time, 20 Sears Road and 34 Sears Road is owned by the same family. I don't know if it's the same exact people, but it's under the same family. It's the Petrie family. But 20 Sears Road is in the legal process right now of being sold. And I think maybe, and I don't know this for sure, but I think one of the stipulations for it to be sold is for this notice of intent to be cleared.
Yeah, and in order to be cleared as written, it would require the complete restoration and removal of the pipe as written, correct?
In the ORAD.
Okay.
And I mean, you guys, of course, you guys can come and say to me, Nicole, we don't like this plan. We absolutely want you to connect, you know, to the culvert on 34. But, you know, those are your decisions to make. I'm just doing what the landowner is requesting.
Melissa, the ORAD is approximately 2.5 years old. Is that right? I'm going on my own memory here, so I could be off by.
I think so.
No,
I think
it's
we
the
just-
ORAD that we just did a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Oh, that recently.
Yeah.
Good
Yep.
God. Okay.
And Ben, I think there is someone here representing the buyer of the property if you were interested in allowing them to speak. They have their hand up.
In a moment, certainly. Once the commission sort of wraps its mind collectively around this. With the and the ORAD applies to both parcels. That would leave our enforcement mechanism solely an enforcement order to ensure compliance, and that the ORAD is good for 3 years. Is that right?
Correct. And even if it were to expire, it is still a condition of approval.
Right. Right. But our ability to issue an enforcement order is somewhat limited until.
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Hmm.
We could issue an enforcement order at any time if we were not satisfied with what they have proposed, whether it's just progress in general in getting an NOI, or if the work hasn't complied.
I'm particularly concerned with putting in the concrete head wall. I think if there is an intent in the near future to remove the remainder of the pipe, there wouldn't be that kind of investment. You just rip wrap around the outside of it in anticipation of taking it out, instead of making it into a more permanent feature.
And just to comment, we could remove the head wall off the plan and do the riprap, like you said. I think the engineers were just trying to do their best with the situation that they were given as well.
Mhm. Liz, I see you speaking. You
Sorry, yeah, I was just gonna say, I don't understand, is it that much more difficult to remove the complete pipe? Like, it seems like if you're doing like half the job, it's easier to just like finish the job. Is that not the case here? Am I, like, I might not understand kind of. Is there like, is it that much more difficult to just completely remove it than it is to remove partial and cap?
I see that it extends into the wetland a little bit, so there'd be some wetland restoration work, but one would certainly think that, at the present time with, when they get started with all the equipment's mobilized, people are on site, you'd think it would make sense just to do it all at once.
Okay.
I had the same question. Is this more about just the property line versus the removal of the pipe to get the full job done?
Yes, I think so.
And also to think about too, if we were to approve this plan moving forward, any new property owners would now have this head wall. So ultimately, unless there's an agreement, they would be responsible for that removal when they remove the rest of it. Unless there was some other agreement, because the owners would be separate.
Is there
Right.
a reason why it was put on that side of the property line? Like a technical reason? Or
Not one that's immediately apparent. Oh, okay, it sounds, so the prospective owner, it sounds like, wants to speak on this, so let's promote them up. And they may be able to help us understand what's going on.
I think Shirley, you should have there you go. She's loading in.
Okay.
Hi, Melissa.
Good evening.
Can I see everyone or not? Well, okay. My name is Shirley Sheridan. I am not the potential owner. I am an attorney who represents the potential owner. And I was interested in clarifying something that was said. These two properties are owned by two different people. 34 is owned by a DePietri Trust, but 20 is owned by Mr. and Mrs. DePietri, the parents who have lived in Southport for quite some time. And as I'm sure you know, this is the property where the house was burnt down a couple of years ago. So I don't know why, I don't have the rationale behind the bifurcation of this work into two separate lots, but they are separate properties and they are separate owners of those properties. My client does plan to submit a notice of intent for the construction of a house on this property, similar to the location of the previous house, and is very aware of the work that would be required to remove the pipe under whatever order you folks actually issue. So I just wanted to clarify that lot ownership question.
So, but once your clients have purchased the property, if the order being currently sought were granted as it's being sought right now, they'd be responsible only for removing the pipe across their portion of the property. We have an order of resource area delineation right now conditioned upon removing the entirety of the pipe across both parcels.
Right.
Where our difficulty lays.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Okay, well, thank you.
Okay.
Giving us that piece.
And also just I double checked the NOI. Both Luis and William, so the owners of both lots, have signed the notice of intent, just as a
Okay.
backup information.
Okay. I don't want to vote against issuing an order, but I'm not comfortable issuing one like this. would be being in conflict with the conditions of the ORAD. I don't know how others feel about it. Let's see.
Do we have enforcement capability or rights with respect to the lot that is going to have the pipe remaining to force it to be removed under the ORAD?
We have enforcement action solely under the fact that it was done illegally, regardless of the ORAD too. But yes.
I mean, I'm uncomfortable with this bifurcation based on the lot line, right? Removing pipe on one side, doing some work, and leaving the other side alone. That just does not pass my common sense test.
Yeah, and with the ownership situation as it is, it seems like it shouldn't be heavy lifting to get this resolved.
I wouldn't think so.
What I can do is I can maybe get a little bit more information on how the commission. I understand that you don't want to really approve this plan because of the situation. But what I can do is I can continue the hearing and go back and speak to the owners of 20 Sears Road, let them know exactly how you feel, let them know that if he does not allow the channel to be completely removed and restored back into natural condition, that an enforcement order might occur to him for lot number 34.
And I think you could even present it to him, and an enforcement order would be issued. Right?
Okay,
Reading the commission here, that strikes me as the likely outcome.
okay. Well, if that's the case, I'm going to ask, with that information, that I'll continue the hearing. I will speak to the Depeches about it, and hopefully, we'll come up with a resolution amongst us all.
Okay, that'd be great. That'd be great. Okay, with that, first, before we wrap things up, I just want, if there's any member of the public here this evening who wishes to offer comment on this matter, please use the raise hand function and we'll promote you right up. Okay, I'm not seeing any. With that taken care of, is there a motion to continue this to our next hearing, the date which escapes me, but 3 weeks from this evening?
3/28.
3/28?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Melissa?
Zulik,
Yes.
Barrington,
Yes.
Upton,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Pasamato.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Nicole, for coming in this evening. And we look forward to
Yes.
seeing you at our next one.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
Have a good day. Okay, so back into new and continued business. We've taken care of the certificate of compliance. Next up, interest in parcels for open space at 88 Turnpike Road.
Mr. Heavy is here. I'm just going to give him a second to load in. Bob, something might come up on your screen to accept the invitation as a panelist if you can.
I'll be right back.
Right,
Well,
maybe
so
not.
when should I make my statement?
You can make it now.
Okay, I wanted everybody to know that I live in close proximity to the land in question, but I feel that I can act impartially.
Okay. And of course, you're not a direct abutter.
No.
Okay.
We got Bob finally. All right.
Okay.
So just as a quick background to this, Mr. Heavy approached my office to ask to come before the commission. I know he's had some conversations with planning boards regarding kind of MBTA zoning. I've kind of told him that we can talk about the donation of the land and kind of the open space values. Can't necessarily make a recommendation of the property included in the overlay district. But wanted to have the conversation as it is adjacent across the street from Breakneck Hill, and some of our other open space properties, like the town forest and also ones that SVT own. I can share the map if it's useful. I also put it on the SharePoint. For those of you who drive down Route 9, it also includes the big red barn building. So this is kind of the Woodland Road aspect of this.
Could you put the plan up, Melissa?
Absolutely.
So we have something to talk over. Thank you.
Sure. So highlighted in yellow here, or darker yellow, I should say, is that parcel. So it does have, a significant amount of wetlands down in this area. There is a wetlands restriction from DEP actually in this bottom corner historically. So just kind of some facts, not that it kind of changes either way. And then Bob, I'm not sure if you had any other information you wanted to share or talk to us about.
You know that I'm trying to get that MBTA zoning on this property.
Yep.
And obviously I can't give the land to the town until I know what I'm going to be doing with the rest of the land. So I guess I'm hoping that your board could assist by just informing the planning board that you would like to get this back land, and if you would, and that you certainly have no reason not to want us to be working on the Route 9 portion of it. And if you felt that that's something your board could do, would appreciate it. That would take us a step closer to being able to give that land to the town.
Mr. Heavey, just to make sure everyone's clear, what you're talking about is hoping with a zoning change to develop the upland portions closer to Route 9, and if that were to work out, then potentially donating the southerly wetland portion to the town. Do I have that generally correct?
Yes, that's exactly.
Thank you. Melissa, quick question. Do you know anything about the water course shown here? Is it intermittent, perennial, or we don't know, or?
I can double check. I think there might be some riverfront area. It might be on the other historic plan I found. I will check.
Okay, that would be just one question I would have. Any questions or comments from the rest of the commission?
I'm just curious about the amount of land we're talking about in the donation. And when you talk about what's going to be developed on Route 9, is it just how big a parcel would actually be donated to the town? I think I saw something about the parcel being 8 acres.
We have 13 acres that we're talking about. We're only planning on developing 5 acres, or about 5 acres. So the remaining would be donated. So that's right, probably be about 8 acres.
So I'm gonna share kind of an old site plan, Bob, I think from when you were planning something else on this property, but it does show the wetland resource area. So it is a perennial stream, but this also has this, the zone line, which is one aspect of it. So here's the Route 9 areas. And then, there's kind of the perennial brook that runs throughout, that's kind of parallel with Woodland Road. And then there are kind of extensive wetlands kind of throughout various portions. And then this kind of lower aspect here is where this wetland restriction area is, and is kind of heavily wet.
Melissa, could you do me a favor and just pan down to where the scale bar is, just so I can get a sense of 1 to 60, but we're looking at, okay. Okay, thank you. And then could you scale back up sort of to the subject parcel, that neck of the woods? Okay, thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so, okay. Yeah, it looks like that would place, certainly not all, but well, pretty good chunk of the upland area would be within riverfront area. If I'm, this again is a historic plan, not current one, but
If you
based
don't
on-
mind some mind-numbing scrolling, I might have a buffer zone plan.
Oh, yeah, I think it might be helpful in the discussion.
Sorry, guys. I think I do. Maybe just for the front.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I lied to you. I'm sorry.
If you go back up to that first sheet, the existing conditions, you know, I actually put my finger up against the scale, and I've been kind of using that to scale on the plan, but I see the riverfront area going somewhere down to, where it says remaining land, number 84 Turnpike Road, area 72,000 and change. Somewhere through that text appears to be about where the 200-foot riverfront zone would end. And then, of course, from there towards the perennial stream would be the riverfront area.
And this is also the edge of a BVW.
That's, yeah. So I think sort of south of that block of text is the area that would be mostly outside of the riverfront area, and outside of wetland. Okay, I mean, I would say so that the commission has always taken our stewardship of the reservoirs in town very seriously, and any protection that we can afford to the watersheds, to the reservoirs, we've always placed a high value on. So from that point of view, additional protections we can give to the wetlands that help preserve the water quality in the reservoir, I'm all in favor of that. I guess, Mr. Heavey, I would say, and this is something you're probably well aware of, but being within a riverfront zone, will certainly have some impact on, how the property can ultimately be developed. I just wanted to get my mind wrapped around what, regulatory restrictions are sort of currently in place.
Well, that front section that we're proposing to work on has already been developed. It's already got
Yep,
things on it. So
absolutely. In that, under the Riverfront Protection Act, that redevelopment is something that is absolutely allowed. Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, Melinda.
I did have a question. Are we just talking about 88, or those other two lots right beside 88?
we would be, there 80, let me see, that one's 84, one's 88, and then that other one's called, used to be 90, but the town changed it to 2 Woodland. But would be including all 3 of those.
For the redevelopment in the MBTA zone?
Yeah.
Is what you're proposing to zoning.
Exactly.
Got it. Thank you.
2 Woodland is the garage barn, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's remaining of it? We're taking bets on how much longer it'll be standing. The rules are no one can touch it. It has to do it on its own.
Okay. You hoping for big wind?
I thought we had it the other night, but it's still standing.
So, Mr. Heavey, you're looking for support from the commission in respect to the rezoning of your property? Is that,
well?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the law allows or if there's something says, but basically just to let the planning board know that you don't oppose it, that's for sure, and that you would like to work something with the owners in order to get that back land, if that's your feeling.
Okay, thank you. I guess I would say from my perspective as one commissioner, given that this is predominantly riverfront area, any redevelopment done on the project, on this subject area, would be performed so that any stormwater would be treated to a much higher standard than it is right now. You know, the old development having been done to a prior, much less stringent standard. I think it's likely we would end up with a net stormwater benefit. And likely that we would end up with additional protections to the watershed area, contributing to the reservoir. So for those reasons, I would say that I'm, you know, not opposed. I don't know how. I don't think I'd feel comfortable with the commission getting involved with letters of support or something like that. But certainly, you know, I won't be writing an opposition letter as a citizen or something like that. I'm, you know, generally, as I say, supportive.
Okay. Well,
The commission,
you know,
sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, I was
I
just
was
gonna say, oh,
Go
go ahead.
Go ahead. It's your turn.
I was gonna say that, you know, the commission doesn't necessarily have to make anything about the zoning if you just wanted to have a general consensus about, you know, the priority of the land. You know, it is kind of marked in our open space and rec plan. There are kind of factual historical evidence if you did kind of still want to at least convey the interest to the planning board. You can keep MBTA out of it and just kind of stick to the open space and recreational facts to it, if that's something that the commission is interested, but it's not obligated.
Are you asking me or you're asking?
No,
the board?
sorry, I was just given to the commission as an option.
It's definitely an interesting area because it's so close to everything else that we control and the terrain wildlife piece there as well. So yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to having that as open space.
Yeah.
I don't think we should
It does
involve in zoning, but yeah.
It does kind of connect your other pieces.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not asking you to get deeply into the zoning issue at all. But you know, it comes up at the planning board meetings. What are we contemplating doing anything with the rest of the land and stuff like that? Mm-hmm. This has always been our intention. Once we know what we're doing with the front part, then to see what we can do with the back part.
Would folks in the commission feel comfortable saying that we consider the back 8 or so acres of this property to be important in recreation, open space, and watershed protection?
I would say more so for open space and watershed protection. I don't know how much recreation you're going to do in there.
Yeah.
But certainly open space and watershed protection would be, you know, higher on my list.
So I don't think there's something we would take a formal vote on, but just to give Mr. Heavey, you know, the confidence when he's at the planning board to say, yeah, the commission thinks this rear portion of the lot is valuable. Is that? I see nodding
I think
head.
it's fair.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
you're
it
spot on.
aligns with our other priorities in that geography in town.
Okay. Liz and Kevin, are you generally comfortable with something like, okay.
Is it something the commission is comfortable with, at least me sending an email to the town planner that we had this discussion, just as a factual kind of backup for Mr. Heavey? So maybe not a formal memo or anything, but just a FYI, this conversation did happen, you know, and this was the outcome.
Anyone feel opposed to that? Okay.
No, well, just letting them know that we had the discussion and that discussion was around that, you know, there's the majority feeling that it has value in terms of its watershed protection, open space, wildlife habitat.
Yep.
Maybe recreation if you're brave. Yeah.
You carry my boots on.
Well, Mr. Healy, I hope this is helpful to you.
It is, and I appreciate it.
Well, of course. Well, thank you very much for coming in this evening and for reaching out to Melissa. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Have a great night.
You too.
Thanks. All right, next up, oh boy. Chestnut Hill Farm Management Plan updates. We finally close in on the target and then blammo, the whole thing.
So actually, there wasn't a revision to the agenda. Sorry, there is a COC for 20 and 22 turnpike, 2024 turnpike that Peter Bemis is here for.
excuse me, I've got
I
a-
apologize.
Okay.
No. Do you mind if I bring Peter over for
Please
that
do.
before we get into
Please,
Chestnut?
yes.
The sad discussion of Chestnut.
Yeah. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. I was afraid I was going to have to sit through and find out what was happening over at Chestnut Farm.
Aren't you curious now, though?
No, I'm not.
Oh, you were very eager. You were very eager. Come
I'm
on.
going to be blunt and honest. Good luck with it. So I'm here tonight. I've submitted what I would call an incomplete request for certificate of compliance for 2 parcels on Turnpike Road. This is for orders that date back to 2002, so they've had a few birthdays. Both expired. We filed as if they were expired, and in order to get to where we're going to both need to be, us and you, we're going to need to file a notice of intent to do some additional work, because there are some transgressions that will not be able to be done without an order of conditions. So if you'll allow me to share my screen, I have some images for you to see, and just so you folks can get a feel for where we're going to go, and we'll be back with a notice filing. Okay. So is that good? It's good, Melissa?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, sorry.
So this is an overview of the site. So 20 and 22 Turnpike Road, and I'm assuming everyone can see this. This is the buildings that are located here at Turnpike Road. This is PLB LLC owner. They own both properties. And this is where the self-storage facility is managed. At one point, there was a Red Barn Coffee House here, for those of you who may have stopped here and got your coffee. The driving range sign in the front area that's in the greens is located here. And so as you come up this driveway, we've got parking on both sides, and I'm going to just zoom in at this point to help you see this better. Oh dear. There we go. I get my pan back now that I did my zoom. It's over here somewhere. No. Here we go. All right. Sorry for that. So what I did with the overlay here was just try to give you an idea where the driveway was originally designed to be and where it got built. So we're using the aerial image, and there's going to be a bit of skew with this, so don't take this too literally, but you know, we do overlay these and they do work out pretty nicely. So you can see the design roadway system was here, and it's pretty much built in that location. As you get here, the road is a little bit more west, and the road was proposed in this position. We've included where the drainage improvements were supposed to be. As you come up to this midsection of the site, you can see that this is skewed over, and then our driveway was proposed to be here to get up to self-storage. It got built here. What I understand is that it was attributed to a lot of ledge that was found in this area here, so that they could get the utilities into the ground. And then as you come up to this section of the site, to the left of this area, we had a limit of work that would have been this magenta line, and they pretty much followed that. And this area wasn't detailed as to what it would be. It was just that we would clear the land and create something here. At one point, they talked about having an ice cream stand, a little miniature golf. Well, those things never really got traction, but they did end up putting a pitch and putt. So that if you're a member of the driving range here, that you can come here and you can pitch and putt in this location. The parking lots were originally shown here a little bit more south than where they got built. They're built in this position. This is the first parking lot. The second parking lot is here, and then those got shifted down a bit. And then if I can pan again. The buildings up here, these are where they were proposed. They're built fairly closely to where they were proposed to be. The driving mats were shown here on the plan we gave you, and then they're in this position here. This is a building that was put in. It's where they do training for golf. And they did not even propose that when we did the work, and that's been built in this position. This is the 100-foot buffer zone, so it's at the edge of the buffer, and the tree clearing also went into the buffer slightly through this area. We'll also include that in the permit application. You certainly would have been able to approve it. This is your 20-foot no touch here, but it was not part of that original submittal. Then as we go through this portion of the site, again, the magenta line was what was originally proposed for the limit of work. I have some pictures that will show this a little bit better, but there's a tree clearing that went closer in this area, not up to the 20-foot no touch. Through this area, a cart path was put in to connect the driving range to self-storage. I'll show you a picture of that. There's another one here that is part of the driving range connection to a shed that they use back here for storage. This cart path is going to be eliminated completely. This one here, they need to have access to this building, and we'll also be showing some improvements in that area to make that cart path more suitable, if you will, to be where it's located. There's a detention basin here that was constructed, and there's another detention basin here that was constructed fairly close to where they were originally proposed to be. Self-storage pretty much marries where the buildings were originally proposed to be. There are two buildings here that were never built. They're just storing materials there. Some of you are very much aware of this snow dump area here. We will be proposing to improve that by grading it out and properly seeding that with erosion mix and probably a wildflower mix. The detention basin hasn't been touched for 20 years. That's going to be dredged, needs to be mucked out to remove some of the sediment that's deposited there. And then in this zone right here, we've got an area, again, I'll show you in the pictures, where they had some bins and some storage. This was an area that was never contemplated to be part of the self-storage area. That area will have to be restored. So to kind of give you the highlights, I'll just go through the pictures now. I'm going to zoom in a bit here. So this is in the area back. So this is the first detention basin. It's actually basin number 2 on the original design plan. And this is the kiosk or clubhouse building for the driving range. So anyone that's come here, you would go up this ramp to get up to the front door there. And these are those buildings in the back where the tees are located inside the structure. And then beyond that, they are the ones that are outdoors. The site plan had proposed this detention basin, and they built it fairly close to what was originally proposed. This is that cart path that I described to you that connects the driving range to the self-storage facility. And then this vehicle right here is parked in that area that was never contemplated to be part of the self-storage area that would have to be restored. This cart path would be eliminated completely, and this area restored with some plantings. Let it go natural. This is the area where I said looking back. So there was a tree stand here that was retained, and the And the lawn area went in back of those trees that were retained. This is the second cart path that goes from the driving range to that area where they're using this shed to store equipment for the driving range. This cart path does go very close to, this is a wetland resource area here to the right. What they did when they made this connection was they were avoiding ledge outcroppings through here and large trees that are here. They took the path of least resistance, but they did so in an area that they didn't have a permit from you to do that. So we will show a way of improving this and making it a more stable area, and then putting a buffer zone back on this side to better protect the wetland area. This building, the back corner where my son Zachary's standing with the GPS unit, this is where the wetland pinches back into the site. So this corner is very close to that. And as you can see, this building is on a concrete pad. So we're going to actually propose mitigation in that area. And then all these materials that are here will not be stored here any longer. So we're going to put, again, a true barrier along this edge. Melissa and I talked about putting boulders and some plant material in through here too. This is coming back on the other side. So when I had mentioned to you about the area to the left of the driveway where they had talked about maybe mini golf or something, this ended up becoming a pitch and putt. So this is the top area. I'm standing there looking back at the building clubhouse. And again, all this area was allowed to be developed in some manner similar to what's here. This is the edge. So there was a intermittent channel that connected this area to that detention basin that we had in the back. So you can see where they've brought work right up to the edge of this area. This brush is from tree branches and whatnot coming down from these storms. This area would be planted. One thing they have suggested, because in the pitch and putt, people's golf balls tend to roll ahead like they do on golf courses and go into adjacent wetland resource areas. We don't want those balls to keep going into this water course every time someone hits a ball. So we'd like to keep this fence here. Again, I'll put that in the proposed plan and you folks can determine whether that's suitable or not. This is a sand trap that they constructed with the T up here. Right now, this surface is too close to the buffer zone, so it needs to be pulled back. Also, what we find with the heavy rainfall events is that it's washing fines into that channel. So again, this area would be all restored. And what we would probably do here is put a berm in so we could prevent the water from transporting sediment towards that wetland resource area. And again, this is a better look at that as an overview. Oops. And then this is that area looking back towards the kiosk, again, just to give you a sense of what that looks like. This is that bin in the van that I had taken a picture of from the driving range looking back. So this is that side of it. The wetland resource area is back here. All this material is going to be removed. So the next slide, this slide shows the other edge of it. This would all be pulled back. And any of this material here would be pulled out. And then this brush would all be pulled out. The wetlands would have been flagged down here. So this is the edge of the buffer zone that was there, but they didn't go into it, but they're on the edge of it with an activity that just frankly shouldn't be there. This is the snow dump. So to go back, this is the furthest north of that limit where this container is located here. This is looking back to the south towards the golf driving range here. So again, you can see the materials. This is frozen snow mixed in with dirt in this area. Oh, sorry. This is down below looking back up. So what we're proposing to do is to grade this back off this spring and then plant it and reseed it. And in addition, what we're going to do is put a swale in here too. Right now, there's basically a direct wash down, if you will, into the detention basin. What I'd like to do is, because we know there's still going to be potential for sediment transport up here, this is snow removal at this site, we're going to take a swale and put check dams in it so that it runs from left to right and then back towards the detention basin so that we have places to capture sediment that could potentially come off the site. This is trying to give a good indication of what the vegetation looks like in the detention basin. It has a thriving cattail area, but we'll take that muck on the surface layer. We'll take that this plant material here, and we'll repurpose that back into the basin. But there's about 2 feet of sediment in here. It's kind of hard to tell from this picture, but that stake, that's actually the rod, is in a culvert that's discharging the road water into the basin. So it's mostly submerged at the moment. And this is the outlet control structure. And again, you can see the vegetation coming in. This is the upper weir. The outlet at the base is here. It's about 2 feet lower. And so you can see that the vegetation is well above the invert. That water level at the bottom is the outlet invert for the pipe out. So I'll stop the share. If anyone wants to go back to a picture, I'd be glad to do that. But I wanted to give you folks an overview. There are some activities that, as I said, went beyond the scope of the original proposal. And then there's areas that actually have fill that has to be removed. So in order to do that, we felt like a notice was the best way to do this. We'll, again, plan on filing a notice of intent. The driving range is for sale. There is a closing that's pending for that. The ownership, PLB LLC, will continue to own the self-storage facility, and there is going to be a holdback from the closing proceeds to complete all of the work tasks that are still to be completed on the driving range property, so that there's a mechanism to bring proper closure to the order of conditions that you currently have jurisdiction over. 683, I think it's 701 is the one for the self-storage facility. And then ultimately there'll be a new order of conditions that you'll also have jurisdiction over, and you wouldn't sign off on that until you were satisfied. So there's a good check and balance system that's going to come forward. Thank you for the time to present this.
Hey, just a quick question, Peter. The original picture you showed us, the overlay over the aerial photo, you showed the original proposed locations of drainage infrastructure and so forth. So looking, it looked like drainage infrastructure was put in sort of in revised locations as they went along, but do you get the sense that it was put in such a way you're gonna be able to, it will meet the stormwater management standards?
Right. Yep. So in 2002, they were subject to review, and may not be as extensive as we look at it today, but they certainly were subject to it. There was an O&M plan.
Okay.
I will say that probably maybe in 2010 or 2012, somewhere around there, was the first time I think I had reached out to PLB LLC to say, hey, you have to clean these catch basins.
Oh, okay.
So I said to Melissa, I do have a history of having it done probably for the last decade anyways. And we do it every other year.
Okay, do you have a sense of the capacity of the infrastructure with the ponds and so forth? Do you think you'd be able to mitigate peak flows and so forth, even though parts have been relocated? That it doesn't look like anything was skipped entirely. It looks like it was just shuffled around, but the drainage areas, do you still have a sense they work and so forth?
Right. Yes. No. What was frustrating very much, Ben, was the fact that we were not finding the connections into the basin because of the amount of sediment buildup that was in the basin. So that was the most frustrating thing to start with, and I was concerned. But we used a metal detector because the drain manholes hadn't been brought to grade. So if you were to drive through there, you'll actually see paint on the ground. We've marked out where they're going to be. We're going to start doing that this weekend to bring them up to grade. Those areas are outside of your buffer zone, so that work can go forward now. But we did find them all. So the drainage system was installed very close to what was proposed, even though the road shifted. All the pipes are close to where they were proposed to tie in, and they're picking up the roadway system to the point that we had originally proposed as well. So the whole upper parking lot of driving range, the whole part of self-storage goes into the detention basin as planned.
Okay, well, that's good news at least. That would turn a bad situation into a disaster.
Exactly. That would have been more difficult to appear before you tonight.
So, and just so I get my head wrapped around it, you're talking about basically encompassing all of these changes into a new sort of master NOI that we would subsequently, presumably issue a master order to cover the whole works. And from that point, we can deal with the prior orders with partial COCs or whatever, but because we will have captured everything within a new master order, similar to how we did with Ken's Food. That the situation there where they had something like 4 outstanding orders, we were able to wrap them all into one current order to clean things up. Melissa, do I have that strategy correct? Is that what you're picturing too?
Yes, except we didn't do any partials for Ken, so I think the recommendation would be we would wait until the work that's under the new order be completed, and then all of the COCs be issued at that time. I have told
I spoke
Peter
incorrectly. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Okay, all right, just making sure. I did tell Peter, just so the commission knows, if something is needed for the closing, I can issue a letter just stating that the applicant, has submitted documents, has talked to the commission about these issues. It wouldn't be stating they, are in compliance, they're getting their COC, just that the commission is aware of the issues and we're working forward. But that's just if it's needed for closing as kind of a heads up to the commission.
Okay.
So that wouldn't be something I need you guys for, but I just wanted to let you know.
Yeah, that's important to us, as the commission should be aware that, there is a closing. We're not asking, I didn't set this up so you could even issue the certificate. We actually checked no off in the box. So if you look closer, you'll see that it is an engineered plan. It does require an engineer certification, and you didn't get one. So we wanted to make sure that no one could imply that we did provide one. This gives you all the power. But we do want a letter that will at least give some acknowledgement that we are in the process and that, one can be obtained. You just have to go through the process properly.
I certainly don't see any roadblocks. However, I just want to make sure if there's any questions, comments, or concerns from any of the commissioners, and anything you'd like to speak with Peter about. Okay.
No, I would just say that I'm probably the only one on the commission that was around when this got built.
Yeah. Predates me.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I think the strategy is correct. I think that, issuing a NOI application to be able to correct the wrongdoings or the errors of the way as it got built and so forth is the right way to go. To be able to encapsulate all the orders and conditions and issue a all-encompassing COC at the right point in time.
Okay.
And if the the applicant here requires a letter to move forward with the closing, letting them know that we've got a process and plan in place to do that is probably also appropriate.
Yep. Great. All right. Anything else from the commission? Okay. Doesn't sound like. All right. Well, thank you for coming in and giving us the update, Peter, and we'll look forward to seeing the NOI. Do you have a rough idea of when that?
As soon as possible. And I said, we get an order of conditions. It says it's good for 3 years. I said, let's try to get it all done in 3 months.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be dealing with this down the road. So no, we're going to stay on the accelerator and get it done this calendar year.
Fantastic.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Have a good night.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. So I didn't realize earlier I was working off of the old agenda. Were there any other revisions to it? No. Okay.
Nope, that was it.
All right. So Chestnut Hill Farm, as I had started, we got a management plan basically together, and then the game changed a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. At least in part. My understanding is they're ending the CSA, and I don't know that they're ending farming activities completely, but it sounds like, maybe reading between the lines a little bit, it's going to be more on the order of I don't know if you call it demonstration farming or entertainment farming or something, but not as sort of a going concern as a farm earning income off of its produce, but for community engagement type programs, pet the goats and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, my understanding is that there will not be farming.
Yeah.
Like-
that's,
Is this a new development?
Yes.
yeah.
Oh,
So I guess the trustees have a new CEO. She's the past secretary of the EEA. Excuse me. And they have reorged a little bit. They've hired or fired some staff, and they have reprioritized some of their parcels. I'm sorry, I have Mark's cold now, apparently.
sorry about that. I must have
And,
virtually conveyed it.
Yeah. And so they have determined at this property that they are going to just do trails and not do farming.
It sounds like they are going to continue with their money-making activities, their programs, and renting out the barn for functions and so forth. I want to give the CR a good thorough read before making any comment. I know this is not what Southborough had originally pictured back when the property was when the CR, excuse me, was purchased by the town. So this is, I know there's a lot of disappointment around the CSA was quite popular, and I feel like there's certainly an expectation from the Beals family that the farming would continue. So there's some sadness there, I think. But
So is this still under the control of the trustees?
yeah, the land was gifted to them. It was gifted to them 10 years ago.
Right.
So they are the owners. They are the grantors under the CR. So they get to choose what they do with the land as long as it comports with the CR. And I honestly have just been too busy to sit down for an hour or two with the CR and go through and try to wrap my mind around how this new development will interact with the CR. But
So what about all the temporary, I shouldn't say temporary buildings, what about the buildings that we allowed to be constructed?
It's a great question. I mean,
what happens to those? They just stand there in eyesores?
Yeah, and we have to talk about, some of them we approved for a purpose,
Yeah.
farm stand, and so forth. Are they going to be used for for new purposes? And like I said, I haven't read through the CR to see how that the new activities are going to work with respect to the CR. So I don't want to speak before I've wrapped my mind around that. But it seems like there's going to be certainly some figuring out to do. So I think the management plan may require some changes. But again, I haven't gone through that either. I think Melissa, I don't know if you've had the bandwidth to do that either. This is a very recent development.
I tried very preliminarily. Yeah, but it unlike the golf course CR, it doesn't have like a type of clause if it was to cease operations,
Right.
of that intended use. So I started to try and parch through and see if there's any specific repercussions or actions that we'd have to
Yeah,
take because the farming action isn't there.
I mean, the CR generally talks about allowed uses, but allowed uses aren't required. So but we've got to dig through that and see what the repercussions are. And also, I'm getting a lot of this information secondhand, third hand, fourth hand. I guess they've had some contact with some of it sounded like some adjacent landowners in town.
So I think an email blast got sent out to anyone who has previously signed up for a CSA.
Okay.
And I think that's really how it got out.
Okay, but at some point we're going to need to hear from the trustees about this. And I think we need to invite them into.
No, we should drag them in.
Yeah, being the CR is under our care and control. We're a stakeholder here, and I understand they, for whatever reason they didn't discuss this with us beforehand, but I would think we would have been one of the first organizations that would have gotten some sort of notice. But yeah, Mark, I'm with you.
I mean, I feel as though they, maybe they couldn't announce this beforehand, but they should have at least had us on the forefront here, coming in and explaining what they plan on doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't feel like we are necessarily viewed as an important stakeholder in the process, but be that as it may, you know, we need to hear from them what exactly is going on. And before we do that, you know, I for one, I'm gonna try to claw through the CR and the current management plan and try to see, at least have a fresh understanding of it for when they come in, so I, you know, can know what questions to ask, I guess.
Do we want to schedule this for the, not to kind of push it out even further, but the April 14th? That's the meeting that Open Space said that they could also attend. They couldn't attend our next meeting on the 28th. And I also won't be here on the next meeting too. So selfishly, I kind of want to be here for that discussion, but
April 18th, you say?
yes,
Yeah,
that's 2 meetings from now.
yeah, that sounds great to me. Because my bandwidth is a little bit full with community preservation stuff until town meeting takes place. Does that work for other folks? So not next meeting, but the meeting after, to ask the trustees to come in?
Works for me.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's do that then, Melissa, if you don't mind.
Is DR still in the loop, or is she no longer?
DA, yes.
I'm sorry, DA.
Yep. No, I got what you were saying. As far as I know, yeah, one of my questions, you know, in thinking about it, of, you know, there's also the homes on the property that historically the people who managed it have lived there.
Right.
You know, so would those be rented out? Would those still have staff on them? Is there still going to be a caretaker? There's a lot. The one things that I did pull out of the CR that you guys should maybe look at is, it seemed like there was some language that was a little bit stronger in terms of, especially with the vistas and maintaining those vistas and woodlands especially. So I think there at least, you know, is a requirement to keep up the property, you know, not necessarily farming, keeping it up, but how it looks today in terms of its vista and its woodlands still need to be managed. So I'll make sure that all of the info is on that open space folder on the SharePoint, and anything else you guys think would be useful, let me know. You know, I think I mentioned I reached out to SVT and they agreed, you know, some different management plan for what they're doing should be updated, and SVT wasn't aware that farming had stopped either. So they're also curious of how that impacts their parcels, especially because they had more livestock on their parcels. So it's kind of coming together. I'll definitely send SVT the note that we're meeting on 4/18 and invite them too, if the commission's okay with that, if anyone is available, as kind of our partner in this CR and property.
You know, it just dawned on me that the fields have to be mowed at least every fall, because that's the bobolink habitat. And if they just grow up, that goes away.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are a lot of pieces here we've got to fit together. So we need to talk to them.
Perfect.
Now, would they be responsible for the mowing?
I guess from the vista preservation, you're absolutely right, Melissa. They can't just let it grow up to brush or woods.
Yeah.
The habitat preservation for the bobolinks, I haven't gone through the CR enough to say how we're gonna make sure that happens. Yeah, we need to talk to them.
Okay, so we'll have that on for April 18th, and I'll try and accumulate anything else that I can in the meantime.
Great.
Even if there's something preliminary I can get from the trustees in terms of information, you know, for us to at least compare to the CR with what they're thinking about the status of the property being.
Okay. All right, sounds like a plan. Anything else from the commission on that? Okay. And next up, review of standard conditions for OOC and SMPs. I will admit to not having spent any time since I last was at a conservation meeting on this. I apologize.
I will also admit, I don't think I'm ready to discuss tonight. It's the same as it has been, but it's not really immediate.
We'll leave it on the agenda for next time. Okay. All right, Melissa, you're up.
All right. So in terms of open and active sites, we have, 78 Main Street, which was the garage that we just permitted. So that is pretty much constructed. The structure is up. 5 Corderville is the new single family house. They've been cranking along. They're very much almost there. They just kind of have their actual housework and some site work to do, and final utility, etc. 205 Turnpike, which is that contractor's yard. You can kind of see through the woods as you're going down. Route 9, has some minor silt fence issues every once in a while when we have big storms, but they've been getting good at fixing those. It helps Russ drives by, so he's always on them for that one. And I think that's it for kind of active sites. For the farm dump, we are going to have a pre-construction meeting next week. I think looking at the doodle poll, I was checking while we were talking, it looks like probably Monday or Tuesday of next week would be the best day. And this is just for, us and stewardship to meet with the contractor and our engineer to meet on site, discuss what mobilization will look like, and talk about some of those areas that stewardship was concerned about and making sure those protections are in place. So I'm very excited to get that finally off the ground. The bid protest is done. I think we got the final certificate of insurance for the disposal facility from the contractor today, so the contract requirements should be completed. So I will send out that final when I decide the day and time. I just want to double check with people who have signed up that Monday or Tuesday still works. But I will send that email out by tomorrow so everyone is aware if they want to stop by. And then, does anyone have any questions about farm dump before I continue? Okay.
Are there quorum concerns, and would that have to be posted as a meeting, or?
I'd say let me know if you're going to show up. I would say as a pre-construction meeting, as long as I kind of run it, as long as you guys aren't deliberating, then a meeting doesn't need to be posted. Any decisions there's not really a decision making, I guess, per se. But I would check with Joyce about stewardship because that's more of a decision making requirement for this type of meeting. So that would be my only thought about stewardship with you if you show up, because I think Joyce and Freddie would be there. But at the same time, I can also act as staff and they can talk to me and I can convey. Okay, so I will send that out tomorrow when I decide the date. And then the notice of intent to sell those Northborough Road parcels, we did send, or the town sent a letter to the owners stating that their notification to the town was insufficient. It didn't have the proper breakdowns for the pricing, essentially. We haven't heard anything back if they're going to continue. Also in discussions with the building commissioner, in terms of the use, these parcels are zoned residential A, and commercial solar is only allowed in the industrial park districts. And that's pretty clear. So I'm kind of confused as why they might not have even looked at that to begin with. So maybe they didn't take that into consideration. So that's kind of still in flux, but no real updates. In terms of St. Mark's stormwater impacts, we talked at the last meeting about the water trespass to the neighbor across the street from the St. Mark's for the new dorm. So I did have the pre-construction meeting for the parking lot that following Monday. So I was able to talk to a lot of the engineers and St. Mark's staff in person there too as well to convey the concerns. I did follow up today to see if any progress had been made, and I haven't had an email back. I think tonight the goal, if the commission does have a deadline they would like to see something, I would like to be able to give St. Mark's, I think, a little bit more concise deadline than we did last time. In terms of ensuring that their project is compliant and or they haven't impacted town infrastructure. So I'm not sure if the commission had a thought on that in terms of a deadline for when they want to see the next round of information. They originally said that they were waiting for a rainstorm, to see where the water was going.
They got
but
one.
They got one, so that was kind of my email to them today of here we are and where are you? So
There's another one coming.
Yeah, I wish I had some better updates to share with you. They are aware of it. I believe they've also been talking with Bill Cundiff, our DPW director. So he's been in the loop as well to ensure that any anticipated, whether it's changes or potential scoping of the pipes, he is aware of and on board with. So I am going to keep following up with that kind of because we did have this rainstorm, but if there was another definitive deadline that the commission wanted to impose, I think it would be useful, at least for me to have a little bit more teeth. So it's kind of the one, I think, item I need for St. Mark's.
Next meeting.
Yeah, I mean,
All right. That's all I need. Just want to make sure. Okay, perfect.
on the St. Mark's Park there, my daughters and I saw the poor guy who drove into the park. It happened, I don't know if you've seen the tire tracks going into it, but it happened during the snowstorm 3 weeks ago, almost 4 weeks ago.
Oh,
Yeah, when
yeah.
there was a snow day and I don't know, we were driving to go to Target or some such, but in the guy's defense, when the snow was covering the whole ground at that stage of construction, if you didn't know the area, it was very confusing. And I really felt bad for the guy, but he drove halfway in, he drove over the brick court and patio area and into the freshly hydro-seeded loam and sunk up to his axles. Poor guy. Driving through there, he clearly wasn't familiar with the area, and when it's all covered with snow, I understand why he did what he did.
No. I think everyone will be excited for this project to be completed.
Yeah. It doesn't look like the damage was too severe. Hopefully it can just be taken care of with a rake.
Should be okay.
With that, any other business?
Just a reminder, I will be on vacation, starting on the 22nd through April
Again?
1st. Yeah, I know. So
Jeez.
I'm gonna finally miss a meeting. My first meeting, I'm not gonna be here at the next one. So good luck because you have some new applications. So enjoy that, or at least ones that we know are coming. So Joe, at least and Laura will be able to drive your path forward for the next meeting, and I will not be listening from Hawaii. So you
Whoa,
can join
Hawaii.
Oh, wow, good for you.
Yes.
Wow.
So have a great time.
Thank you. Yep, we were going halfway there to San Francisco and decided to just keep going.
Good for you. Oh, that's
Nice.
exciting.
I'm very excited. So I will be gone. We're leaving that Thursday night. So I will be working that Thursday, the 21st. I might leave a little bit early. And then we're coming back Monday, April 1st in the morning. So I won't be in work on the 1st, but I'm going to be, starting up my computer and answering emails, etc. So just a FYI, I'm going to do my standard email to the engineers so they know and, so they know who to reach out to and that Laura is there. And if any, applications are coming in, usually they get them to me a little bit earlier to work with us a little bit better. So that's kind of where that is. And then again, town meeting, March 23rd at 10 a.m. Our stuff, we just have the budget. I will also not be there because I will be away because they moved it. But there shouldn't be any issues. We don't have any bylaws. So our budget was normal. And that's all that I have.
Is anybody around that weekend to go to town meeting? I'm away too.
Ben will be there.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Well, that's right.
I'll be there late, but I'll be there.
I'll be there.
At some point, I should probably give some sort of report about CPC stuff. I am the conservation rep, but let's not do it tonight.
That's fair.
Not tonight.
Yeah, we have State of the Union address in 25 minutes.
Oh, that's right. Oh, that's right. That's right. All right. So with that, we're looking for one more motion. Who wants to do it?
Let me do it.
Oh, yeah.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Zulik,
Yes.
Barrington,
Yes.
Upton,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Pasamato.
Yes.
Perfect.
Fantastic. Well, thanks, everybody. Melissa, have a great time.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
Have fun.
Thanks, Ben,
All
for
right.
helping me out with my
Oh, anytime.
golden voice.
Good night, everyone.
All right.
Yeah, thanks for
Bye,
giving me
Mark.
the cough, Mark.
Sorry about that. You know, the last meeting I missed, I had the flu.
Oh, yuck.
I know you've
No.
been sick lately. You need some good vitamins.
Yeah, I don't know what to do. It's been since I got COVID the beginning of October.
Oh God.
So,
All right. Well,
all right,
Joe,
good night,
there's
all.
going to be a couple things coming your way on Monday when we get our finals, just as a heads up.
Okay. Thanks.
Good night,
All
everyone.
right.
Hey, bye.
Night.
Right.
Bye.